So I had a request for a streaky paint type preppy bow. And what I'm going to start with is I have a 10 by 10 canvas. I'm going to go into my Halloween stamps and I'm going to do one of the bows that I have there. And I'm just going to use this as a template and drag and drop to make it a base layer. So I'm going to drag in, once I've got it centered, black, and I'm just going to make the base layer of this a black color. I think I'm just gonna do like a sport bow. So I think I'm just gonna do like a blue and a gold. So once you've got your base layer of your bow, whether you're using my stamps or you're drawing or whatever you want to do, you want to have a solid layer at the bottom. Then I'm going to swap to the oil paintbrush. This is in my brush set. I link for you guys. I know it's under the PNG design, and then I relinked it under the Halloween color palette. And I'm going to go in and I am going to select this really pretty like bright blue. And what I'm going to do once I do a new layer is I'm going to select clipping mask and clip it to the bottom. And I'm going to make sure I turn the opacity all the way up on this brush, and I'm going to turn the sizing down. So on the left side, the bottom goes all the way up, and then the left side is going to get adjusted to be smaller so that it doesn't completely fill the bow, because the purpose of this tutorial and how you get this look that you're wanting is that you have to layer and layer and layer all of the different colors together. So I'm going to start by doing with the blue, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just do streaks and follow the natural like wave of the bow. And then I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to also select clipping mask because these are all going to be clipped to the bottom layer. And we're going to go with the gold next. So give me just a second. Okay, got the gold ready. We have our new layer. We have a new clipping mask. And I'm going to adjust the bow, the brush size again a little bit. I'm going to bump it down. And once I get done with this, I'm also going to make sure that it is clipped to the black layer so that it's not overshooting the bow. So it'll take me just a second. And I will say this is a very trendy look to have the bows. I'm going to show you guys both ways to do this. This one is going to have a very streaky paint look to it. And this is using, if you didn't catch it earlier, the oil paint. Now you can play around with all the different brushes in Procreate, and I offer 2 or 3 different streaky brushes in the brush set. And you can, play around with it to get the exact look that you want. So everyone's going to probably want it to look a little bit different, but this looked the best to me. So for the last 2 layers, I'm going to do a white layer as like an accent layer. And so once again, I am going to make it smaller because we don't want to overshadow our blue and our gold. And then once I've got the white layer done, I'm probably going to go back over with either a glitter or a gray and try to go over the black a little bit because we want it bright, we want it preppy, we don't want it too dark looking. And since black is the base layer, then we want to make sure that we have enough highlighted in there to where it pops. So I finished my white layer. Let's go in and do like a light gray layer and see. Let me see. I think I'm just going to keep the same brush. I don't want to mess with the different looks that it has. I don't want it to not match when it comes to the streaks. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to have to make this a lot smaller because I don't want it to overshadow the colors. But I'm going to do you see the edges where there's a lot of black on the edges? I'm just going to add the gray in there a little bit to help smear it in. We don't want too much black because, like I said, it overshadows and just kind of makes it look a little too dark. So this will take just a minute. I'm just going in. And this is basically, the digital version of a oil paint if you were doing a physical paintbrush. So it's the more you go over it, the more it's going to smear. And so you're basically just thinking, layering paint layers. So if you layer to layer, you let it dry, you layer to layer, you let it dry. So you're doing that, but you don't have to do the actual physical process of letting everything dry. So I'm going to go in and finish brushing the gray up a little bit. And I do think that looks a lot better. Now you can continue to layer this and just add another blue layer, add another yellow layer, do another white layer. But this is the paint version on how you would do this to where it looks streaky and the colors kind of blend together. Now, the other way that I have seen this done is more of a pencil brush or like a dry ink brush to where it's very prominent and it pops a lot on the changes from the colors. So the colors do not merge together. So I have just deleted everything on top, and I'm just starting with the black bow again, and we're just doing a clipping mask. And now what I'm using for brushes for this is the dry ink brushes that I have. I wanna say this one is ink number 3. And then I turn the stabilization down because I don't want it to make it harder for me to be able to go in and do the layers, and I need it to be a little bit more rough and less straight. So we don't need the stabilization high when we're doing this. So I did the gray layer first this time, and then I'm gonna layer on that with the blue. And you just try to go over in different areas, right? Like, I don't wanna completely go over the gray and then go over the blue. I wanna try to get the areas of the bow I have not covered yet to cover up more of the black. So let's go on the opposite side of the blue right there. See, doesn't that look pretty? And I really like this version better. I like the ink brush. So this is ink brush either 3 or 1. And I just think this one looks a lot better because personally, I don't necessarily like the smeary look when it comes to these bows because I feel like it takes away from the color contrast and it makes it look a lot duller. And we want it to be very bright and very poppy. Very poppy. I meant preppy. Very preppy, very bright. We want it to print or, do a transfer really pretty.